What's up, y'all? Wow, nice and close and personal. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today's the 29th of June, 2026. This is a video under our main side, one of the 4 sides to In the Image Clothing Company, where our slogan is allowing the body to work. Now, clothing, right? Just the only thing physically placed on our bodies being a physical body, determined by the shape and length of our own individual bones, connecting directly to each other through ligaments, with just a thin layer of cushioning called cartilage between the bones. There's only one way the human being could ever possibly work. Muscles only pull, just opposing muscles, pulling to close a hinge joint or pulling to extend a hinge joint. There's always only one way the human body could ever possibly physically, mechanically operate, regardless of what anybody ever says. Okay, truly. It's just measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations. It's just our own bones that determine how it can function individually. So we have this universal human design, designed in the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ. Here we go. In the Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name. Okay. Ropes. We talk about ropes. Okay, you can get into chronic patterning because of clothing, and we do. That's why our bodies don't work. I mean, anything in life, but the only thing physically placed on us, the literal word of clothing, glasses, hats, well, there you go, tops, pants, shoes, socks, undergarments, anything physically placed on the body, the way that God clothes the fields with grass, it's clothing, right? That's what we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company. We discuss clothing having to stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, at least these 3 things at baseline. You know, joints of material of clothing, meshing with joints of body parts, things like this, right? So, because everything we're doing in life, we're doing it in and through whatever we're physically, literally clothing our bodies with to do anything we do in life, okay? Literal wording. So, we talk about shoelaces and drawstrings because getting the body into chronic patterning, you can tie one side over the other in a knot and twist the entire body with a rope of any kind or something like that. Even these pant legs, I could essentially tie like ropes. They are ropes, just different than how we would normally think of it, right? On or around the body, anything twisting the body will damage the entire body, with the body having its own rotations from internal or external rotation. The entire body having a neutral position in all the ways that it resides in all the time, okay? But, yeah, every part of the body has a neutral position. We talk about things needing to be round, okay? When we're talking about shoelaces and drawstrings specifically, well, this video's title on the 29th of June, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, is flat ropes are actually round. Let's say this. How flat shoelaces and drawstrings are actually round. Let's even go so far to explain it more thoroughly. How hollow flat ropes are actually round. Anyway, and me even just saying that differently, how we could potentially title this, can give you an understanding of what's really happening here. This is a flat drawstring, and we talk about the importance of round things and all the ways we can have them be in life. The hands have these rounded hand arches, correlating with the arches in our feet, and one will affect the other. If the feet arches are altered, the hand arches will be altered. So we need texture to the earth and texture to the things we hold, rounding to the things we hold, like the thumb that we hold with our fingers, right? And our rounded open palm. The open palm creates internal rotation, right? The open palm and internal rotation is the video's title under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. One of the many, well over 600 videos we have under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. One of our 4s alone as of today's date, the 29th of June, 2026, discussing stuff like this. So the drawstrings or shoelaces, there's a lot of flat ones in modern day, but you think about tree trunks, you think about rocks rolling through riverbeds, and then the body itself, even our bones are round, you know. There's a lot of rounding that's just natural. Okay, we live in this flat, modern, man-made world placed onto God's natural earth. But there's something about this where round is actually, even through the wind noise, right? Round is actually what these are. These flat ropes that are hollow, they're actually technically, essentially round. I mean it. So this is what happens. Is you get this rope that's hollow in the middle, you know, this type of weave of a rope like this one here, you can open it up and it's actually round because there's an opening in the middle. It's just hollow. Why it becomes flat is a few things. You know, they can iron it flat. They can put something on the end of it or just fold it over and stitch it to itself and then it's flat. But when I say something on the end of it, you can call it an aglet, that thing that they put on around the end of it to hold it from fraying, you know, and coming apart of the stitching like this, or not the stitching necessarily, but the weave of the rope to become a rope. That's how these ones were right here. This drawstring specifically, it was folded on the end, and then when you stitch that flat, it becomes flat, and the rest of the whole thing kind of follows what that does. But also we talk about the need to take out any kind of stitching in the rear of pants, where a drawstring could be stitched in, just holding the rear of the pants in place and not allowing our bodies to just have their natural motion. And this could be in like a hoodie, you know, a hood on top of like a jacket or something. You could have it stitched in the rope that's going through the hood that you can cinch the hood up tighter with to keep the air and the cold air and the wind out of your hood. It can be stitched in the top or the rear, just like in the rear of a pant waistline. The drawstring can be stitched in, and then this will cause it to be pinned flat back there. Then the whole thing will kind of follow what that does, the whole drawstring, and it'll be flat. So the reason for this video is just the context, the understanding of a flat rope can actually be round if it's a hollow rope that's just been flattened out. But you know, we give a lot of free modifications in clothing under In the Image Clothing Company to allow the body to work. Living in this world we live in where we've got clothing imbalances in modern 2026 that are shipped across the entire earth, basically universally. You know, collar seams, rotated seams in clothing, stitched in drawstrings and ropes around the hoods of tops, or even around like a dress if you've got like a thicker ribbon maybe type thing that's around your waist, stitched into the rear of your dress maybe, right? Well, these are imbalances because they create imbalances. Then you tie a knot and you're pulling your back from the center of your spine in the rear where that's stitched in, or on the hood of your top, you know, you're pulling the center of it around. If you pull on one side or the other of the drawstring, or you know, the rope through the hood. So you know, there's free modifications we give in clothing. A lot of things need to be modified, you know, keeping collars centered and the importance of snug collars. 2 focuses under In the Image Clothing Company. So things like In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification to keep collars centered. Well, things like this is essentially a modification. Well, first off, as we discussed, and I did a little bit here, unpicking that stitch if you've got a rope that's stitched in right in the rear of a pant waistline, just taking out the stitch so that the drawstring can just slide nicely through the waistband of the pants all the way around the circular nature or the circumference of your body at your natural waist, where your pants will sit above your hips but below your lowest ribs, right? Where we bend side to side at the spine, just where our pants sit, to not alter our bodies on this universal human design. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be. You're just a human being. All right, clothing sits in the same location on the physical bones of the human being so they can have all their natural motions where they join at the joints. But anyway, this is essentially a modification. Is doing, well, what I've done here. You know, you can cut the end off if there's a stitch on the rope that's causing it to stay flat. And this isn't, as of now. You can tell it's still flat, but it could become round. Meaning, if I personally, with this specific rope here, kind of, you know, just moved it around and allowed it to open up with its hollow center, this would essentially just be a round rope. I'll kind of do it right here so you can see what I'm saying. There you go, right? It's actually round. It really is. It's just laying flat. But, you know, you can get some motion into it, and, well, there you go. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That is round. It is, that's the point of the video. And there you go, there's the visual. You just kind of have to let it be round. You have to take anything out of it, any stitch, throughout it that's stitching it flat. Stitches on the end that makes the ends flat, or that little aglet type thing on the end that maybe they make it flat first and then fold it and then heat shrink something around there or crimp some metal around there or something on the end, call it an aglet, like is on the end of shoelaces, right? On a drawstring like this, though, or shoelaces, anything actually at all that's a hollow, flat rope, you can make it round. Actually, okay, you can. So there you go. The point is, we just talked about what flat things do. It's just unnatural, as I was discussing, and it just doesn't sit nicely against what it's against, because if it folds rather than just something round rotating, pivoting just around the center of the roundness of it. Something flat just can't do that the way that something round can, okay? But anyway, that's a modification, truly, in clothing, that I've done here personally. That's why I've done that, is because now it's essentially round. It's still kind of sitting flat in its current state here, but it will become round if you allow it to have all of its natural opening up in the hollow center, and then it'll just be a round, hollow rope, like it is in the beginning of its design, before it's pinned flat. Anyway, there you go, okay, the 29th of June, 2026. In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Check out the other 3 sides of us if you'd like to. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, In the Image Clothing Company podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 209 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast as of today's date, the 29th of June, 2026, and In the Image Clothing Company music, where we do a lot with music. We show sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the body, the neutral wrist, the rounding to the hands, the proper fitment of that. But rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ, with the messages here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, specifically St. George, Utah. We're going to breed poodles, okay, under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, as well as just our slogan being letting dogs stay natural, which is the same thing as allowing the body to work for the human beings here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, but applying to all dogs. Not only just what we specialize in, which is the standard, which is the large size of purebred poodle. So, thank you.